Great day, everyone. Great day, everyone. I want to welcome you to another amazing episode of the Overnight Success Podcast. I'm your host, Diamond McNulty, and today our theme is Young and Successful. And I'm always excited to join you inside of the boardroom where we do here to do one thing, and that's to empower our youth to focus on success and achieve their goals in life. So it's extremely important. As I mentioned, I'm Diamond McNulty, author of How to Become a Successful Young Man, Woman, 12 Things Entrepreneurs Should Pray For, and Success Recovery to help others get over that hump to try to figure out who they want to become in life and actually achieve all their goals. And today we have a special guest. I'm extremely excited because I've seen this entire journey, right? I'm talking when this individual was just getting started in their career path to actually achieving some great things. Today, we're going to have Dr. Brianna Brown. She's a graduate of Tuskegee University. She just graduated as a doctor in veterinary medicine. So come on in. Her focus is small animals, but she's going to continue to expand. So come on in, Doc. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm great. How are you guys? How are
I'm,
you doing?
I'm wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for joining me inside of the boardroom, Doc.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, it's special. So, especially when you get a chance to see someone who has already done some great things at a young age. So, before we get started, is there anything you want to share with our audience?
Yes, I know Diamond actually provided me with just some prior thoughts, especially for the young people. Don't let anyone tell you what you should do. Someone that doesn't know you, because like
Mhm.
you already had, the thought in your mind what you always wanted to do. Regardless, like if you plan out your own future, or if you don't, just don't have people that don't know you tell you what to do.
Oh, that's a good one, right?
Yes.
People can't speak over your life if they
Mm,
don't know who you are and where you're going.
exactly.
That's I love it. I love it. Okay, so let's get into it, Doc. So just give us a little bit of history. Let's start back from the beginning. Where were you born and raised? A little bit of your upbringing and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, I was born and raised here in Atlanta, Georgia, my full 26 years. We never moved anywhere else. I'm grateful. Pretty much just born and raised by my family, my mom, my dad, and my younger sister. I was always put into academics and into sports as soon as I was like 3 years old. My parents threw me in the water because they always wanted us to know how to swim. So I had that athletic background along with going to Benjamin E. Mays for high school, which is a very prominent, very prominent, predominantly black Atlanta public school, which I was really able to grow and thrive there, just as a young student, and it really gave me like the tools to succeed, to be able to go to college, and everything. So that's pretty
Mm.
much where my upbringing kind of came from. Just being born and raised here. I was a young athlete, went to school, and then eventually
Yeah.
went to college to, get where I am now.
So let's talk about it because, as you mentioned, right, young coming up, being in an environment that was extremely nurturing too. At the same time, parents putting you intentionally in
Mhm.
position to achieve your goals in life. Where did the passion for animals come from at that young age? Were you passionate in elementary school for animals?
I think it pretty much started. It started in middle school because we've
Mhm.
always had pets.
Yeah.
But then when we had the pets, obviously I was young. I didn't know what pets really needed. Obviously, we
Mhm.
fed them every day. We knew they needed to get bathed, but there were certain things that they needed on the veterinary side that I was always intrigued with, and especially when they got sick, we just didn't have the financial means to really, or the education or the knowledge to
Mhm.
even know what to do with it. So I was always intrigued. It was when I was sixth grade specifically. My Rottweiler at the time, he had diagnosed with heartworms, and I was like, "What the heck is heartworms?" And that's a whole other conversation we'll get into later. But pretty much, it's a disease that it is treatable, but there's a point where it's not treatable. And I like
Mm.
raised. I was crying to my teacher, and I was like, "Can we raise money to help get?" Because it was expensive. It's more expensive now, but at the time it was probably like $800 just for him to get the cure, because there's a cure if at certain points.
Mm.
And I was like, oh my god, can we? And I got like all my classmates together. I made like a little flyer. We raised money to get Zeus. I had like a whole little thing and everything. I don't know that like just because it was my own pet that was sick, and I found out there was something that we could do for it. It just
Yeah.
sparked that in me. And I even learned more about it. I think I like even researched a little bit on the computers we had back then. We have iPhones. um, so that's what really started with my own animals. Just because we didn't have the means to take care of them, we still
Yeah.
gave them a good life, but it was just that education. I just didn't.
Yeah. It
Um,
was it was the unknown. You didn't know what he was going through or how to even navigate that
no.
path. That's something special. Now, at that time, you mentioned your teacher, you have the parents. Were there any others that encouraged and inspired you at that moment, or even in life at that time?
Yeah, it was actually I remember one of my middle school teachers. She was so sweet. Her name was Miss Becca. And she just always she just nurtured that idea. And
Hmm.
just never put me down for it, never said like, "Oh, this is too silly."
Yeah,
She actually helped me get the resources along with my parents to be able to, get the fundraiser together. And that was just like the starting point to when I got to high school, when I decided I was like, "Okay, I do want to be a veterinarian. How do I get there?" And then my mom pretty much was like the back burner to help me find that. She would,
yeah.
because I was 13. I didn't know
Come
how to,
on, mom.
I didn't know how to, look up certain things, even though I did have, as technology kept growing, I still had that access. I just didn't know how to do it or how to
Yeah,
network at 13. So my mom got with my high school and got with other resources to be able to put me into those programs that were for high school students to expose students to.
yeah.
It was agriculture, because
Mm,
agriculture is big, but not just animals, but also I was able to also see other um, different careers that weren't just veterinary medicine. So I was able to have a decision making. I was able to have like different options,
yeah,
and that's what I was like when I did certain excuse me, not boot camps. When I did certain programs that were just veterinary based, I was like, oh, I want to do this. I didn't like what those other
yeah,
giving me. So it was really like my mom and my parents kind of giving me that information along with my counselor. Man, my high school counselors were really
yeah.
um, very honing with giving me those resources too that I didn't know how to access.
Yeah, no, that is so important. And this just gives me so much joy to know, right, that you have people in position that are actually doing the great work and helping propel you because that's exactly what's needed. Now, what kind of student were you, right? Here you
Mm-hmm.
are. How was your grades? And what encouraged you to continue on that path?
Yeah, and in high school, it was like beginning of heck, it goes back to elementary school. Honestly, like I was a good student, but I had some struggles. I
Hmm.
remember this is so pinpoint. I remember I was in third grade, and Georgia people know there was this test called the CRCT, and I
Mm,
actually like missed it by a couple points, and they held me back in what was it? I think it was fourth grade, or it was no, it
mm,
held me back into third grade just because I didn't pass, and that really
yeah.
put a damper on my little spirit back then. I used to think I wasn't gonna be smart enough. I didn't know I was gonna be a
Mm,
veterinarian yet at the time, but it was just like just that ego that hurts your little soul.
mm-hmm.
Me being that young, and I'm seeing my classmates walk by, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm not smart enough. So that really that helped trigger me to do well in school.
Mm,
To like not let anyone tell me like I'm not smart enough. Like based off my efforts and what my grades tell me, it doesn't define how smart I am. So throughout
yes.
high school, I was literally an ABC student. I mainly
Yeah.
made A's and B's, but I got that C. I was not I was not playing. Like if that class was hard and I literally put on my effort, in some classes I just didn't do well in, I was fine with my C.
Yeah.
But despite that, I think I only had one C throughout high school, but that
Hmm.
still pinpointed me to be able to become the top 10 of my class. I was number 9.
Yeah.
So, and then that also like, went back to my third grade Brianna when I didn't pass that test. They held me back
Mm,
because I didn't meet those certain points. But yeah, I
yeah.
did I did pretty well in high school. I was working my butt off while being an athlete. I just remember those long nights. Jesus, compare those nights don't compare to vet school, but they did kind of. Now that I look, it kind of did like kind of help. Now they kind of do parallel. But yeah, I was a pretty good student. I stayed on top of my stuff. I had my binders, or everything was organized to a
Yeah.
T. I mean, yeah, I
And you
was
got to
I was a pretty
grow.
good student.
You
Yeah,
got to
and
grow to become that. That's
yeah,
the
I
that's the
learned each
thing about it.
I learned each year, like looking back, I used to look at my transcript. I used to look at my transcript to see, like, okay, I did this in my class. I would enjoy seeing how my GPA would
Mm,
increase. So I grew
mm,
every year because
no.
that's how my brain grew and my with the skills I learned along the way.
Right, and you locked in, you got motivated. It's funny
I
how
did.
sometimes people say those are setbacks, but I call them setups, right?
Hmm.
So by you not passing that one test, that motivated you, and instead of discouraging you, because sometimes people give up, and you don't want a child at a young age to give up. So is there anything you would share with the students that may have gone through or maybe going through that right now in order to keep going?
Yeah, like what I would share is don't let it bring you down and give yourself grace. Because like you
Mhm.
have moments. Like there's sometimes that life gets in the way that, mentally you're struggling. There's outside forces that you can't control that, cause you to have those, those bad grades. And
Mhm.
so you just like literally if you feel like in that moment, it's what I always tell myself while I was studying through vet school, I need to take a step back, like go on a walk. Like you can't be all in all the time. So you have to be
Yes.
all in for yourself before you have to so before you have to put your best foot forward. So I would pretty much just say like when you know you're struggling, and also reach out to help, and then
Mhm.
realize when you're struggling, what does that look like? Because when you're not feeling good, it manifests into your work. So that's my thing, like
Mm,
really just honing in how you're feeling, and then reach
mm.
out when you are struggling.
Yeah, you gotta have that circle. I need help. I have a question,
Yeah.
and that's important. And those who don't have anyone and feel like you may not have anyone to turn to, get a book.
Hmm.
Seek guidance. Look at
I
other
would write
different
stuff down
programs.
as well. Like writing stuff in your journal, just getting your just it doesn't have to be like concrete.
Mhm.
Just dump all your thoughts onto a piece of paper. You'd be very surprised how much it is very helpful. And you can even just read it back to yourself and just to analyze and take in what you're feeling.
Hello, my name is Diamond McNulty, and I want to welcome you to the McNulty International Success Club, where we help youth and adults create their personal success plans to achieve their dreams in life. Visit McNultyInternational.com today and register, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of y'all inside the boardroom. Yeah, get it out of your mind, like you're saying, Doc. So here we are. You're going from through high school, you're getting your grades right, you're locking in, you got your pathway, you focus. Okay, walk us through the process of transitioning from high school into college
Mhm.
and, just the whole process and who assisted you and all of those good details.
Yes. So who assisted me was obviously my little bit of my high school counselors, and my family, and then
Mhm.
obviously myself.
Mhm.
That transition, it was actually, I say smooth. It was smoother
Mhm.
than vet school, but it was pretty good just because Mays like really prepared me for college because I did the program they had called dual enrollment. So I was able
Mm.
my senior year to take college classes at Atlanta Metro, which I recommend for anybody, Atlanta Metro or Georgia State, if there's still if APS still offers it. So I was able to like drive myself to class. I had to wake up, wake up on my own time.
Yeah.
I literally had to go to the standing line with other college students, to get my ID. And that prepared me for what I did at Tuskegee. And I went to Tuskegee's open house as well, so I was pretty
Mhm.
much ready. That's what that transition looked like. I had all my transcripts sent over there. Yeah, pretty much my parents, high school, and my it was and a lot of myself. So I was just so excited just to get to Tuskegee. At the
So
time.
what empowered you? Because you said something that stood out to me, right? Not only did you speak of parents, your counselors, you also said yourself. Now, how important was it to hold yourself accountable and for you to show up, right? Because I want those others that are watching that are young and successful to do the same thing.
Hmm. What empowers me? I'm trying to think. So, and I still do it to this day. It's not. It's almost like the ambition I have for myself, and if I'm not showing up for myself, like who's gonna? I can't have my parents do it for me.
Mhm.
They've molded me, since I was a young baby, and
Mhm.
I I just know like I know they're gonna help catch me when I fall down, but
Mhm.
what about the like? There's gonna be moments where they're not gonna be there, and so I have
Mhm.
to make sure that you have to be independent sometimes. So it took practice,
Yeah.
and I got that from being an athlete.
Mm.
It was like hard moments, hard days, but like hey, you have to. It's mental. That's what I'm trying to get there. Yes, mentally, I had to mentally self-talking to myself like, okay, you have to do this for yourself, and if you
Mm.
do, you're going to feel good about it because you did it for yourself. knowing you do have like a little help in the way, but when you just have that doing it for yourself, it just
Mm-hmm.
shows what you're capable of within
Mm-hmm.
yourself.
I love it. I love it. And that's so important. What you hit on, ring the bell. Where my bell at? Because it matters. It matters for, of course, even if you have parents or you have someone around you, you have to stand on your own eventually. And because eventually those individuals may not be there to hold you
Hmm.
accountable or do it for you. So here you are, you're going to Tuskegee. Why Tuskegee? Why nowhere else?
Hmm. It's crazy. That's even my principal said, because at the time they literally forced students. They're like, you guys have to apply to three colleges. I literally only applied to like two other colleges just because I had to. But I did Tuskegee. So I got introduced. I didn't even know what Tuskegee was till I was about 15 when my mom introduced me to this program. It's called Vet Step, which is still available for any students that would like to be immersed into veterinary medicine. Um, Pretty much I got like immersed there. Like pretty much they put me into classes. I was there for a week. I was able to walk on
Mm,
campus, learn the history. And I'm
mm,
really big on just history and keeping that like keeping up with what my ancestors kind of have done for me to be able to be here. And so just
yeah.
learning about what Tuskegee and which is known for being the only black HBCU that produced predominantly black veterinarians in this world. It was just so powerful, and I just felt very uplifted, being even just 15 at that time, knowing that there was something here for me with people that looked like me, and it was achievable.
Yeah.
The support, oh my God, just by me meeting the people while I was there, they just kind of kept me. They would have me with open arms as if I was like a cousin coming to a cookout, and that's just how it feels like at Tuskegee or at any HBCU. And I just felt very nurtured, and I saw that, and I was like, oh, if I came here, they're gonna literally give me the blueprints I need to succeed with the people, and they knew who I was since I
Yeah.
was 15, going into my interview and the application process. So it was just about, and this also goes to about who you know.
Mhm.
So and yeah, Tuskegee felt like Mays as well. Predominantly black, rich as I mean in not monetarily, but just rich alumni that just
Mhm.
poured into the school, and I just felt at home. Honestly, like at the open house, I met great people along the way while I was there before I transferred in. Yeah, I just have so much love for Tuskegee, and I just literally just saw myself there, and
Mm.
I said I'm going to be at this school.
This is where it's at. Don't get out of my way. I'm
And
gone.
they also were the only ones that were like close enough for me. There are the few that actually had an animal science degree. So before
Mm.
I knew I was gonna go to vet school, but I needed something to get me into vet school. And Tuskegee had that. A lot
Gotcha.
of other HBCUs. So I knew I wanted to go to the HBCU. They just didn't have it. North Carolina A&T, they had
Mhm.
one. FAM had one, but I just looked at like the area as well.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be
And
too far from home.
I was just going to say that too. You weren't too far, and that matters because a couple things that I want our youth to catch on, or anyone that may be watching, right? Those early exposures, right? When you were trying to figure out what you wanted to become, a mom, dad, they helped you by connecting you with the community, right? Others in the
Mhm.
community. So talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to jump into your overnight moments.
Yes. You said how my parents exposed me to community.
Well, exposure to community, but then also exposed you to your career path with connecting you with someone in your community.
Mm. Oh yes. So my parents like really good with just connecting with black culture, with my dad being an artist, a black fine artist at that. So they're always just very passionate about that. So
Mhm.
but they're always just looking for it,
Yeah,
whether if it's subliminally or directly.
yeah,
It was a doctor, a black doctor that opened up a clinic like down the street from my house, and my mom just literally, she was like, Brown, you need to email this woman right now. And it was like no question about it. Because she just knew that, I mean, my thing is like my motto is closed mouths don't get fed.
mhm,
And she told me no at first, but then I was just persistent, and I just kept going. And this connection came from actually, when I was on my swim team, one of the mothers of one of my teammates, she knew the woman that owned the practice because they went to Tuskegee. Like again,
yeah,
it's just about who my mom was just talking, and we were again on a predominantly black swim team, called
Yeah.
City Atlanta Dolphins at the time. So it was just that my mom just always just had us exposed to just black excellence, and the team wasn't just always black too. Like we had white people, we had Asian people as well. So
Yeah.
I always was put in diverse environments, but to
Hmm.
always still like let me know where to sought out opportunities, especially when they are people that look like me. So
Yeah.
that's
No,
what
that's
community has always been there.
community is so important, right? So you start off in that community and you're at Tuskegee. What was the college experience like? Give us a run through all 4 years.
Mm. Oh my God, yeah. Tuskegee was great. Freshman year, that was like a transition period. I
Hmm.
had work study. I mean, I was going to classes, and then I didn't have that many classes either because I took my dual enrollment, so everything transferred. I took like 4 classes. I wish I took more. Please take as many as you can. I wish I did, but I took like 4 classes. So it was moving to my dorm room. I had to walk the class. I didn't have no car. Tuskegee's hot, so I mean, I was sweating. I was keeping that freshman 15 off. I would love, like, I would go to the calf. I was, adamant, had my little meal plan, go breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I would catch rides with people I didn't even know sometimes just to get to class. But folks were just nice. And then I was like, I can't do this walking. Daddy can give me a bike. So I got a bike to be able to walk on, like, ride on campus. People knew me for that girl that rode that blue bike. That's always one person. I would always, if something was like not working for me, I would just, that's that. And that's what Tuskegee would, that's my point. Throughout my whole 4 years Tuskegee obviously did not have everything they had to offer,
Yeah.
but because they really didn't have a shuttle, they did, but it was inconsistent. I was like,
Hmm.
okay, well, I need to find out how to make my life easier since it's hot in
Yes.
September and August to get to class. I don't have a car. Those things, like, it just really helped me learn to be more
Yeah.
independent. And when life doesn't give you everything you need, how can you how can you work with what you have to be
Mm,
able to make it work for you? Because like
yeah.
Tuskegee's in a rural town, Auburn is like 20 minutes away. I would if
Yeah.
people I would, there would be group chats. People like, hey, I'm going to Walmart. Okay, hey, can I get a ride, like, to go? Or whoever my
Yeah.
friends finally started getting cars, I would utilize them. It was just about
Yeah.
utilizing my resources that I had around me. Um, you know, that when we didn't have it, like the heat would go out sometimes in our dorms. They doing better now. This was when I was there in 2017. And
Yeah.
then I would just be like, okay, where can I get a space heater? I don't know. I was just always on my phone.
Resourceful.
Tuskegee
Res-
Tuskegee molded me into that because we had no
mm,
choice.
yeah. Yeah.
So that was really how my full 4 years kind of looked like. Getting to class. I mean, there was events where I would go and network at my certain college. Um, I was big on like always going to the farm
Hmm.
to be able to get experience. I would go every weekend with I found a friend had a car to take me, or I would call the
Hmm.
police TUPD to take me. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it was just fun to like events,
Yeah.
traveling with my friends that I'm still friends with to this day. It was just Tuskegee was a great time. To the homecomings,
Yeah.
yeah.
And when we're talking about independence, right? So I'm glad that you touched on that. You were independent. You had to be on your own. You were away from home.
Mhm.
What kept you motivated during that time too? Because sometimes when that independence is given, sometimes students just wild out, right? What kept you grounded and focused?
I just knew that I had to have a certain credential for like vet school was what kept me empowered to
Mm,
keep everything like standard.
yeah.
Just because I had my grades had to be, I'd have a certain GPA and every. I didn't have a
Mm,
4.0. Let's just start there. I didn't have that.
that's okay.
Which I'm fine with. Like, it's like no one's gonna ask me what my grades were as a vet. But what kept me empowered was
Yeah.
honestly the people, my friends around me.
Yeah.
We're all like very like minded. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's my thing. Like, if you make sure you center around people that are like minded, like you. Like, it was like half my friend group. All of us were going to go to vet school or do something with
Hmm.
veterinary medicine. And then I
Yeah.
had other ones that also, like, one of my friends, architect. One of my girlfriends, she's a meat scientist now. Like, we all, I surrounded myself, like, those moments that I felt low, like I was able to go on to them. Because
Yeah.
we were all in the same classes and doing the same, taking the same tests. We were studying together. So I really. really leaned on them.
Yeah.
They really did help empower me, I will say, while I was there. And then my mentors I had at the time, I think I just had the one,
Yeah.
my the one I did my the clinic, Dr. Ashley Randall, where I
Yeah.
got most of my experience from. And I kind of sought out for it. Like if I needed that empowerment, like I
Yeah.
would go to the vet. Like I would just by meeting people. Like I remember I met this one vet student that was at Tuskegee. He was like a third year. We just exchanged numbers, and I would just reach out to him for help. So I would sought out people. There's nothing wrong with being a follower. Like you have to be a follower before you become a leader. I would literally
Mm-hmm.
sought out people that had empowerment,
Yeah.
and that I noticed that were like the big steppers on campus, and just like just be kind and just be nice to them and just ask for like advice or just and have a
Mm.
smile. They just would know who I am, and just
Yeah.
like check in like how am I doing. So just surrounding myself around
That's
like-minded
good.
individuals.
That's
Mm-hmm.
good. That's good. And then here on the Overnight Success Podcast, we talk about that things just don't happen overnight, right? This is the microwave era where they like, I want it now. Let's talk about we really focus on those things that sometimes you got to work in the morning and then you got to put in that work overnight.
Yeah.
What were some of your overnight moments, right? Where you're like,
Mm-hmm.
I got to get this done. I got to burn it on. And how did you get through it?
Whew. So those overnight moments really started into vet school.
Mm-hmm.
Undergrad, I look back, undergrad, not say it was easy, but like compared to professional school, it's a lot harder. Yeah, because vet school is another beast, just like medical school is as well for humans.
Mm-hmm.
We had back to back tests, studying, everything, and I was like, I'm not what. Pretty much, I was like, I'm not filling out these classes because I got all this debt I got to pay back. And but I did pull some over. I never ever actually pulled it an all nighter, but I would
Yeah.
stay up late because I was like, I don't feel confident in this test. I'm not strong in it. I've reached out to the researchers, but I have to pass it, even if it's a C, a little 70%. I have to pass it. So there was a few like late nights, a lot of early mornings. Had to wake up for school. Excuse me,
But you got it
for
done.
lectures and everything, and we had to do like dissection labs. We had to like pedal to the metal. It was not a game. Um,
Yes.
so I
So
had a couple of overnights there. What was the second part of your question? I just want to make sure. I think I'm
no,
almost to answer it.
so you know you definitely answered it, right? It was just basically how did you get through it? And then
Oh,
when
how to.
you
Mm-hmm.
hmm so is there anything you want to add on that?
Yeah, I would implement self-care. Like
Mm,
I gave myself days off. Like Fridays were
mm,
my days off. Like I did not I went to class, but
yeah,
after like class was done, I wouldn't study. I just relaxed. Me and my friends would, go get drinks, would get something to eat, do
yeah.
something fun. Like it was as a reward.
Mm,
Obviously
mm,
when it came to finals, yes, I would probably study on those Fridays or like if we had just a quiz, something,
yeah,
or I would go to a game because I was still at Tuskegee, so I already knew stuff was going on. Like if heck, if homecoming was going on, but like okay, we'll go out, just this Friday. So yeah, I did a lot of stuff for me and with
mm,
my friends that were in vet school as well, my vet village.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, I gave myself a day off.
I
Um,
love that. My
so
vet
no,
village.
yeah,
Talk to
no study.
him.
I watch movies. I would call people, that I haven't talked to in a few months.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I did. To
So
keep myself going.
and after that you graduated and looking back, is there any advice that you would give an undergrad right now, right? Because
Mhm,
getting through that is sometimes challenging for them, but
mhm.
what would you share with them?
For undergrad students, I would say reach out and do things that are out of your comfort zone. That's
Mm,
what I did in undergrad. Like I knew I didn't want to do research, but I knew it was gonna look good on my resume, and
mm,
I knew if I didn't do it, I wouldn't know that I wouldn't want to do it, if that makes
right,
sense. Yeah,
right,
like
right,
you have to put yourself out there,
yeah,
especially like for someone who like I remember I did something. I think I used to work study, work in a
yeah,
lab with
yeah.
rats, naked rats.
Mm,
What I want to do that for the rest of my
oh,
life? No,
oh,
but but it was I got paid for it. And find opportunities that are not paid as well. Because when
yeah,
people see your effort when you were just working for free, it also it says a lot about you and your character. So
Yeah.
putting just really literally putting yourself out there in things that you never did before, is my
Mm-hmm.
thing. Like really
Mm.
out for that. Yes.
Wow. And so here you are, you're in vet school. Give us the rundown of the journey through vet school to the graduation.
Ugh. I know. It was good. It was good and bad. I think that
Yeah.
oh my god, but when I was applying for vet school, that
Yeah.
was pretty hard. Like they said that's the hardest thing is to get into vet school. And I look
Mm.
back on it, like it was expensive.
Yeah.
Um, there was essays you had to write. You had to get letters of recommendation, which you had to rely on people for that to get it in
Yeah.
on time. I had to take like another test just to get into the vet, just to like it's like almost like the SAT. It's called the
Mm-hmm.
GRE. I had to do that. And then once I mean, I kind of felt like I was going to get in just because I went to Tuskegee in undergrad, and again, this is about who you know. And this is not
Mm-hmm.
being me. I'm very humble about all my experiences, but however, I just made sure I put
Connections.
my best foot forward when it came to the connections. Yeah, like the people
Yeah.
that knew me, they knew me when I did vet step when I was 15, and they're like, "Oh, hey, Brianna," and it felt like more of a conversation. And that's not
Yes.
you're not going to know everybody in your life, but you just never know who you're going to connect with. If
Oh,
you don't, if you just don't get out that comfort zone and just have a conversation and make an impression, even if you
yeah.
are shy. But whatever that quick 15 to 30 seconds that you make on somebody can do a lot.
Yes.
But going back into the journey, it was for vet school was 4 years. First and second year is probably like that hard. Not say the hardest. Fourth year is probably the hardest, but it was that transition from undergrad into professional school because you're not studying how you used to. You could just study the night before the test and pass the next day. Mm-mm. Can't do that in vet school. Some tests I would have to cram for because of the load of information, but no, you had to like play. I had to
Yeah.
be very organized
You got
planning.
to know it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I can only study for this amount of time for anatomy, this amount of time for clinical pathology. I really had to, prioritize certain. I had to prioritize certain classes and everything,
Mm.
along with my own life. I didn't,
Yeah.
I didn't have a pet that first year, but like just life things. Like I had to go to the grocery store. I studied for 6 hours. Have I eaten? Have I showered? So it was all those things matter. You got to
Yeah.
make sure you have to. And I didn't have like the healthiest habits, throughout vet school,
Mm-hmm.
but I had to. It was a balance. So I'm trying to get out of that now. Now that I'm in the real. Now that I'm having my life back into the real world, but it was a sacrifice.
Yeah.
But fourth year, so it's like different modalities. First and second year is mainly information year. You're learning all the basics. Then third and fourth year is like
Mm-hmm.
you're getting more hands on. Fourth
Yeah.
year is probably the hardest, just because I went from classroom into clinics where you're having to apply stuff, along with me preparing for my boards at the same time, along with
Yes.
other stressors of that the school brought on us as well. So
Yeah.
I was most tested mentally and physically. I really had to hone in myself, understand how
Mm.
I feel when I'm stressed. Stress does manifest on your body, so I had to take into myself while I was doing all this. I was waking up super early, studying late, but I had to make sure I went to bed on time because I was waking up early. So I was learning a lot about myself, and I did all that, and I passed my boards on my first try. So that was looking back on it, vet school was it was definitely a transition to get.
Yeah.
I wasn't the fourth year. I wasn't the same person I was first year, but
Wow.
and it was great just to see that growth though when I look back on my
Yes.
trips and everything.
Now that's special because you touched on, but that leave a lasting impression. The fact that you had to get organized because you had to allocate time, right? Time management mattered at that
Mhm.
time, right? And then you were always calculating. So for those of you that are watching, right? So when you begin to set these goals that you want to achieve something, now you got to come up with that plan on how you're going to do it. So I love how you communicated that. You communicated that very well. And now that we look back, and you're going into the field, what's your favorite part of what you do, just in general?
Mm. So I like surgery. That's my
Hmm.
favorite part about well, that's one part. My favorite part is actually the education, educating, especially people in my our low socioeconomic area about
Hmm.
what they can do for their pets because the trend
Hmm.
is changing now with how people take care of their pets. A lot,
Yeah.
about 30 years ago, people would just, leave their dog outside, and
Mm-hmm.
then they eat bones and they live till they whatever. But things are different now. People are really taking care of dogs like they are children. And
Yes.
so I've been enjoying educating people on the preventative medicine. So I'm pretty much
Mm-hmm.
so your dog can have a quality of life. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Although, it is expensive sometimes, but I like to give people resources like, hey, there's insurance for your pet. If you brush your teeth every day, that all these things go a long way. Their dog needs to be on heartworm prevention. They need to get their
Mm-hmm.
shots every year. Grooming is
Mm-hmm.
important. So many things. So it's just changing it's kind of changing that narrative and even um connecting with people at different backgrounds. I've been enjoying like people
Yeah.
of Asian cultures, Indian cultures that come in, Hispanic
Mm-hmm.
people, like, and I've had like literally had to translate, talking from English to Spanish to try to understand about someone's pet. So it's just really
Yes.
making the connections of people I really enjoy through
Yeah.
their pets, because I didn't
Yeah.
go into this for the animals. I came into this to connect with people as well, because the pets
Yes.
can't speak. So I really do enjoy that aspect, like just educating people, especially because I'll be working Union City, yeah, kind of like in a certain social economic area where people may not have a lot of money, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
still able to expose them to what they can do for their pet with what
Yeah.
they have, because it's a dance too. Like some people, they might not have all the money, but their pet is really sick, and I got to figure out what I can
Mm.
do to try to help them. So
Yes.
it's a constant communication
Yes.
that I've been enjoying to learn with how to communicate with people, because it's a big thing.
Yes.
It's really big with Marfield.
So what's something that you look forward to now that you're entering into the field?
Hmm. I'm looking forward to actually seeing how I actually practice, like
Mm.
putting my values as a human being, what Brianna values, into medicine, and how I'm excited to see how I make it my own. Because I have like little thoughts in my head of like how I see myself and like what I want to do for a practice or for the people that come into the practice. So I'm just excited to see how I grow, especially these
Mm-hmm.
next 6 months, because they say it's called practicing medicine for a reason. So
Mm-hmm.
not everything I'm gonna do is like by the textbook. So it's interesting to see what animal is going to present to me and how I'm going to go about it with everything I've learned from school. But I have to make it my own, because I personally, I know I have great values for myself and how I treat people, and I've kind of already seen from just shadowing. I've seen a lot how certain veterinarians how they approach certain things, and just
Yeah.
from different backgrounds, ethnicities, and everything. And I've kind of shaped it into how I view, how I would like to practice. So I'm just interested to see how that goes for myself.
Well, I'm extremely proud. Definitely, just knowing the journey, and I'm excited to see it too. I got to get some more animals. I'll
Yeah.
bring Kai. I'll bring Kai over there. So, is there anything that you want to leave with our audience today, or that you want them to take away, not only from your journey, but just everything that you've shared?
hmm I would say just don't let any pressures of people that don't know you, tell
Hmm.
you what you should do. That goes back to the beginning, because I just, even in TV shows and just in real life, I see that they always press people what their parents wanted them to do, or like
Mm-hmm.
what society expects them to do. So I just really say, if you have something that you enjoy, just do it. Like, and just because I went to college for something specific doesn't mean you have to go to college. Like my sister, she didn't want to go to college. She became an esthetician. So
Yeah.
you don't like, especially they tell you in school, you have to go to college. You have to go to college. You don't have to. Like, we need plumbers, we need electricians, we need contractors. So like,
Yeah.
do something that will bring you value, and
Mm-hmm.
not just dollar signs. The money will come along the way. Like, even though I'm a doctor, I'm a veterinarian, people say veterinarians are in it for the money. We are not. We get paid a lot less than human doctors, but it comes with the love of what we're doing. So I would
Yes.
definitely, like, it goes back to that, like, having that value for when you're within yourself and what you want to do. And it's going to take time. If you
Yeah.
feel like you want to open up your own business, just do it, and then just see where it goes. And because you won't know until you do something. Excuse me, you can't learn from anything until you do it. You have to
Yeah.
learn along the way. So
Yes. Well, I'm extremely proud. And there everyone has it, right?
yeah,
Dr. Brianna Brown, right? If you want to
yeah.
connect with her, they can visit Vet with Bree on
Hmm.
Instagram. Feel free to reach out. Amazing story, amazing journey. I'm excited to see anything. Thank you again for sharing it with us,
Of
Brianna.
course.
I greatly appreciate you, Doc.
Thank
Everyone,
you.
y'all have a wonderful day. Thank you again. Take care. We'll see y'all next time inside of
Bye.
the boardroom.